Welcome to Garden Chatter, where we connect gardeners, bloggers, and experts so we can all grow and learn together. Tonight we have a great show. We have another couple special guests. We're going to be talking about seeds and organizing a seed swap. So I'm super excited to have my co-host Bren Haas introduce our guests. If you're joining this Hangout live, you can get to the question and answers by clicking on the screen, and then up on the top there'll be a little grid, and if you tap that you'll see the Q&A box, and there'll be a little place to type it in. And so we'd love to hear from you, even if it's just a little shout out of who you are and where you are, or if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in and we'll see them and try to respond to them. Well, Bren, how are you doing tonight?
Not too bad. I'm warming up with all this chatter now about seed planting because it's like a whole 5 degrees here in Ohio. So I'm pretty excited to talk with Josh and Kristin tonight about seed swaps. Kristin, you can follow her at thatbloominggardens.wordpress.com, and then we all know her from Twitter at Delta's Garden. And Josh can follow. You can follow Josh on Twitter at JOKIR74, and Josh is the seed guy. He actually works. He actually works for Pan America Seed Company. So we've got a great lineup tonight. How about I'm going to ask Kristin. Okay, I know you're Canadian. Can you share what hardiness zone you are in? Do you kind of follow that there as well, or?
Okay, yes, we do follow hardiness zones. I'm actually a zone 8 here because we've got lots of warm weather coming off the ocean. I'm so closely located to the Pacific Ocean that our winters are really mild here and our summers are cool. So it's only about 45 degrees here Fahrenheit right now. It's a great mild winter, a warm winter for us.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's lovely living here.
Yeah.
And I've already planted seeds.
Wow. Well, you've got a beautiful greenhouse. I've seen it on Twitter. Now, Josh, I know you're freezing. You're in the Windy City.
Much different than Zone 8. I used to live in Oregon, so I used to be a Zone 8er, but now I'm a Zone 5B, I believe. Live in Chicago. And it is a lot warmer here. It's currently 17 degrees instead of the 5 degrees that you're having to deal with. So I feel, a little bit bad for you in a way, but at the same time, it's also very, very windy here. So, we have that whole issue to deal with as well.
Sure.
Yeah, and I'm not planting seeds right now.
No. Well, you could do some sprouts or something, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And certainly a heated greenhouse, you could do that. But I am, as far as where I live, it's I'm on the 5th floor of a mid-rise building, so it's a little too early to be starting seeds to put out on the balcony yet.
Totally.
So let's see, how about when we get going with organizing a seed swap, I was wondering, Kristin, could you just tell a little bit about some of what you've been up to with seed swaps? I know also that look like you've been working with kids in classrooms. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. I actually teach a grade 3 class how to grow food, and all the food that they grow in our community garden is actually donated back to the local food banks and other charities. So that's been really rewarding, and kids love to get their hands in the dirt. As a matter of fact, they'll dig more than the soil, than they'd rather just dig than anything else. But anyway, but it's been a busy because I'm busy organizing our local CD Saturday, which is held. There's many of them all across Canada, and I think across North America, there's quite a few seed swaps that are happening. And so ours is next month. So I'm getting seeds ready for trading.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's fun to do. It's fun. It's fun to share the passion.
Yeah.
I was wondering. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. What were you going to ask?
I was just wondering if you could kind of walk us through, like, what do you do to prepare for a seed swap, or what does it kind of look like when you have it set up? And
well, what we do is I organize an event, and when we you have to have seeds ready. I usually try to take some of my seeds that I've collected from my garden or from the community garden, and I package them up. And I usually use, and hopefully that you can see these I use little paper coin envelopes. So I don't know, for most people who've gone out there and purchased seed, if you've ever gone to buy onion seeds, sometimes they come in a package of 1,000 seeds. And I don't know, it would take me forever to grow 1,000 onion seeds, probably several years, so I may not need that whole package. So what I will do is sort of repackage seeds that maybe I won't use the whole package, maybe I didn't like it. So I'll use little coin envelopes, and they have to be marked, of course, of what type of plant your seeds are, and whether they're open pollinated, whether they're hybrids, because there's a huge difference. So right now I'm in the middle of packaging my own seeds to get that seed swap sort of off and going, and we actually have people, we have rules. People are allowed to bring in their seeds, but they have to be packaged and labeled, because there's nothing worse than a huge kilogram of seeds that you don't even know what they are, because nobody wants those.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I want to note, if anybody's watching us tonight and you're also on Twitter, you can ask questions, of course, up by the grid here on your screen. If you click that and go in the Q&A, just say hey that you're watching us tonight. Maybe ask a question for Kristin or Josh. And also, if you're on Twitter, feel free to ask a question and connect with us at #GardenChatter. Mouthful.
Yeah, garden chatter.
Chatter.
Yeah. So, Kristin, what about, or Josh, just quick, the difference between open pollinated and hybrid? Maybe you guys could just give a quick little rundown on that so we can make sure everyone knows.
Sure.
Josh, do you want to go ahead and discuss hybrids?
Oh, sure. I'd be happy to. So essentially, in a nutshell, and this is a very non-scientific way of describing things, but an open pollinated variety, and let's talk about vegetables right now, an open pollinated vegetable variety is something that you could grow, that you would then let flower and go to seed, and then assuming that you're not cross-pollinating it with another nearby different variety, if you were to save the seed of that open pollinated variety, grew it again the following season, then what would happen is that you would get the same exact variety. On the other hand, a hybrid is where two different parents are taken. So I take parent A and parent B, I cross-pollinate them to create a hybrid. If I were to then harvest that seed from the fruit of the plants that I was hybridizing or cross-pollinating, the following season, when I grew those, it would be the offspring, which is the hybrid. If I were to save those seeds, so I'm growing the hybrid second year after I cross-pollinated everything, if I were to save those seeds, then essentially what would happen is it would probably, and replanted them, it would probably revert back to one of the parents or just be something completely different, but it wouldn't be necessarily the same variety that I planted the year before. Hopefully I didn't confuse things too much. But the reason why, so say for example, I have a tomato plant that is really good tasting, but it's not very disease resistant. And so it succumbs to disease very quickly. So then what I would do is take that really good tasting tomato plant and cross-pollinate it with a disease-resistant tomato plant in hopes of getting a disease-resistant, good-tasting tomato. That's not always how it works, but that's the idea behind hybridizing something. And essentially what it means for a home gardener is that you couldn't save the seed of that hybrid and grow it again the following year and have it come true if you were to harvest seed off of the plants that you were growing.
Very cool. It's not confusing. That made sense.
And it's not, I mean, you know, hybrids occur naturally all the time. It doesn't involve any, I'm not talking about genetic modification or anything like that. It's essentially taking the pollen from plant A, crossing it with the pollen from plant B, and seeing what you get.
I've kind of heard chatter about that, like on Twitter, of course. I don't experiment like that or anything. I just get the seeds and grow them. And but I wonder what you were saying, how you could take two different ones. Could a home gardener do that, like make their own hybrid, kind of?
Absolutely. They absolutely.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. So I don't have to be a scientist. I could do that.
No.
Cool.
I usually get
There's a lot of
the.
really good resources out there that tell you the how-tos behind it, depending on the type of vegetable, at least, and I'm focusing on vegetables, but depending on the type of vegetable, there's a little more know-how, there's a little more isolation issues that are necessary, but yeah, it's certainly possible.
So not to sound crazy, but so basically the hybrid kind of almost nature kind of does that a little, right? I mean, kind of, or
There's
it
no
could?
kind of about it. It absolutely doesn't.
Okay.
A plant in nature is wind pollinated,
Mm-hmm.
and you have plant, one variety over here and another variety over here of the same species, and the pollen gets mixed with the wind, then what will happen with the seed that comes from that cross-pollination is a hybrid.
Yeah,
Very cool.
I'm doing that this year.
Really? Cool.
Yeah,
You better blog about it.
I will be.
What are you creating hybrids of?
I've actually taken seed from a dahlia, from a colorette dahlia, and there's another color in close proximity. So I'm hoping, I'm going to experiment. I mean, who's to say that that won't be a different color this coming year? So I'll see what happens with that. I didn't realize how easy it was and how many seeds, that there was a seed in each petal on a finished bloom. We often deadhead them without realizing that if we let them go brown, the seeds are all there, and there's hundreds of seeds on one bloom.
Wow.
So that's going to be fun, and I'll be doing it with tomatoes as well.
That'll be fun. I was thinking with flowers, it's a little, shall we say, safer, just because it's probably going to be beautiful. And I always end up with, the volunteer sort of squash, but then they end up more like gourds.
Yeah.
Squash is totally different. You can have some really weird squash.
Absolutely.
From cross-pollination.
I'm thinking, okay, so back to the seed swap. So what if somebody comes in, and of course they do label their seeds? You're kind of taking a chance a little bit, because I mean, how do you really know what seeds? Are there people that can identify seeds?
We try to have master gardeners on hand at our seed swaps so that they have their resource table next door. So if somebody has questions, they can take the seed package over and maybe ask them about that before they decide to swap, right? Maybe get a little bit more information about that variety.
That's cool.
That's usually helpful. Yeah, especially if it's not marked whether it's hybrid or open pollinated. You can usually, because not all seed packages may say that, so they can look that up for them on the internet at our seed swaps.
Okay.
It's kind of handy to have that resource.
Now, Kristin, when on your seed swaps, is it mostly seeds that people bought in a packet, commercially that they had too many and they're sharing, or are a lot of people collecting seeds from their garden?
A lot of people do collect seeds. I was amazed at how many seeds we had brought in last year. The first year, nobody knew what a seed swap was because it was brand new to the community. And over the years, last year, we didn't have enough volunteers to man the table. People were bringing in 1 kilogram of seeds and wanting to package it up and trade for others. And we do get open packages. People have decided they don't like leeks or kohlrabi or something like that. So as long as they've taped it up, yeah, sure, that's fine. I'm just I like to sort of stick with nothing that's genetically modified, I guess, or, be careful as to what seeds. And it'd be great if all seeds were organic that they brought in, but that's a whole educational curve to people, especially when it's a new event that people are participating in. There's a lot of knowledge that needs to be given.
Yeah, so how many people did probably showed up at your last one there?
Anywhere between 300 to 500 people come to the event every year. And there's just crowds of people around every table that we have there. Because it's not just a seed event, there's also garden vendors as well and speakers. So we want to make it really educational, right? Mm-hmm. So we always have somebody talking about how to start seeds as well.
Yeah, that's great. I was just trying to think, so the plan is just that people bring some and then they take some. So you bring some and share some.
There's a lot. Yeah, exactly. A lot of time people do come to an event like that and they don't realize there's a seed swap, so we'll just let them know that if they want to make a donation, they can take a package And usually that's because our event is a fundraiser for the community garden, so we can sponsor the children's program and the local food banks. So it's a win-win altogether. So people, I'm trying to encourage people to use more seeds because a lot of people are scared of using seeds. Mm-hmm. And I think even if it's a hybrid seed and you're collecting hybrids, try it out. If you haven't read the home breeding for the or plant breeding for the home gardener, excellent book out, and it's inspired me to sort of experiment a little bit more with seeds, even if they're hybrids, just to see what I can grow out of them. That's why I'm doing the dahlias this year.
I have on Twitter here, we've got Giovanna asking, what do you use to cross-pollinate? Q-tip, paintbrush, what would you use? Josh, maybe?
It really depends on what the crop is. If it's something like a squash or a cucurbit, things like cucumbers and squash, melons, those types of things, you could use something like a paintbrush. You can also use something like a Q-tip. It really does depend. Oftentimes you just pluck the flower off of one plant and kind of just like tap the pollen into the area of the other. It really is dependent on the type of crop that you're trying to cross-pollinate.
Very cool.
And how that crop, how the flower, receives the pollen and all of that type of stuff.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, I'm assuming you probably have a lot of questions. I was kind of floored that you've never been to a seed swap before.
Yeah, I need to get out a little bit more, but I'll work on that. So maybe I need to check around and see what seed swaps are available to me. But let's say I wanted to start one.
Yeah.
Maybe there wasn't one in my area. Kristin, what are some of the things I should think about, or what are some of the sort of pitfalls or problems that you've seen arise that should be aware of?
I mean, to start one, I would probably look at a venue. Obviously, you need somewhere to start one because it's not like you want to do it in your backyard or something. That would be easier. But maybe your local public library would hold something like that. There's often meeting rooms where you can encourage something like that. It would be a great place to start. Mm-hmm. But I know the first year we had it, never leave your tables empty. It becomes, sometimes people think that because you're offering seeds that it's a free-for-all, and we had all our seeds go missing. There was nothing to take home. Because at a seed swap, they should be seeds traded, right? And there should be some left over. But, it's not for free. So you just have to kind of monitor the tables and be generous here and there. But, yeah. And we try and only, if somebody brings 5 packages of seeds in, they get to trade for 5 packages. So it's sort of an even trade.
I have to admit, I was a seed hoarder once at one of the first seed swaps I went to. But you would have done it too. There's like this huge tray of all these really neat grasses. So it just looked like, it was the dead, what the grass looks like the fancy, I don't know the names. Anyways, I didn't realize all you needed was like a little pinch of it. And I kind of totally filled up like a sandwich pack size. And the horticulture people got a little upset. But I had no idea. So, yeah, that was embarrassing.
Hard from that seed swap from now until eternity.
Ann Arbor.
Can't go back now.
They forgave me.
That's hard. It's
Yeah. But to your point, though, I mean, at least from my opinion, one of the great things that Kristin was touching on about seed swaps, not only do you get to talk to other people and get the opportunity to try different varieties that are maybe even different types of crops that you've never grown before, but it's all about learning, too. I mean, we have Garden Chatter, and all of these are such wonderful opportunities to learn from one another. And by going to a seed swap, it's just an opportunity to do it in person and not only learn about the varieties that you're getting, but also the how-tos. And maybe you don't need 50 million seeds of that particular grass, but by going there and someone telling you, then it's a really good opportunity to learn while you're there as well.
Awesome. Right.
So I was wondering if Josh or Kristin wanted to share. I don't know, maybe Josh, he's kind of in the seed, in the know, shall we say? Are there any seeds that are there any seeds you guys are excited about for this next year that you're all jazzed up about?
Oh, yeah, of course. First of all, before I talk about the things that I'm really jazzed up about, Kristin, you were mentioning someone might not like kohlrabi. Listen, they should be kicked out of a seed swap. Kohlrabi is my favorite vegetable in the entire world. And for those people that are listening, watching, whatever, if you've never grown kohlrabi, you definitely need to try it. But one of the, now that I'm off my soapbox, one of the things that I'm really excited about this year, the company that I work for a seed breeding company. So we create the varieties, and then we go and get the seed produced and make it available to garden catalogs, as well as the growers who sell to garden centers the varieties available. And we focus a lot on flowers, but my particular passion is in vegetables, and that's what I get to work with. And we're introducing a whole series of tomatoes this year called heirloom marriages. And it's kind of a really good example of what a hybrid is. Because essentially what we're doing, everyone grows the heirloom tomatoes because they love the flavor, they love the shape, they love the colors. But if you've ever grown one, oftentimes they're not very productive. And so all we have done is taken 2 heirlooms as the parents to a hybrid to create a hybrid. And we're being completely transparent about who the parents are. So for example, we have a variety called Genuine that is a cross between Castelluto Genovese and Brandywine. They're 2 very famous, very well-known heirloom tomato varieties. And what you get is you get much earlier maturing. So this will mature like 10 days faster than Brandywine will, which for you 2 that are in the Northwest right now, getting tomatoes to mature in a timely fashion can be a challenge at times. But you're also getting much higher yield. So you're getting like a decent amount of fruit on these plants because it has that hybrid vigor, but you're also getting the same flavors, shapes, and colors that heirlooms are known for because both of the parents are heirlooms.
That sounds fantastic. So where can we find these?
So those would be available in all different types of garden catalogs, or as well as garden centers this coming spring. I know Territorial Seed Company out in Oregon is offering one of them. Park Seed, Jung's, Stokes in Canada. Those are just a couple of the places that are currently offering them.
Very cool. I was wondering, are they naming them to something totally new, or are they kind of a combination of the?
It's a combination. So we have Genuine, which is Castelluto Genovese with Brandywine. We have Perfect Flame, which is Perone by Flamme. And then we have one called Big Brandy, which is a variety called Big Dwarf with Brandywine. So we're trying to incorporate the parent names in it, again, just because we're letting, there's also a trust that goes along with heirlooms, as there should be, because they've been passed down from generation to generation. And we're letting you know, okay, this tomato is just the pollen from Brandywine with the pollen from Castelluto Genovese, and that's how you do it. But to Brett, your point earlier, anyone in their backyard could do the same thing with a little bit of know-how.
Very cool. Kristin, how about you? Are you got some things in mind for this coming year? Or?
Well, I usually grow about 500 tomatoes every year, so I'm in the process of growing. So now I'm really interested in trying out that new tomato, so I'll pick up some seeds when I'm at the Northwest Flower and Garden Show. Hopefully I'll get them when I'm down there. That'd be great. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
But, it's interesting the stories that come by. I just have to, when we first started our seed swap, we had a woman come in with about a half-pound Ziploc bag full of Swedish brown bean seeds, and she wanted to know if we wanted them. And I had never grown them. And she said that she lived in Ladner, and she was a pioneer here in this community, and her family had been growing them here for 100 years. And they had grown them every year since, and she would like to pass them and share them with other people, right? And she didn't want any seeds in return. So it's those kind of stories, I think, that you see at seed swaps that make it all worthwhile and holding those kind of events. And you learn the stories behind the seeds. And I think that's really something that, is priceless, really. And makes it all, all the work that goes into putting an event like that together worthwhile.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really
cool.
But
I can't wait. Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Did you grow any?
I have. I've tried growing some, but I haven't had real success with them, so it could be mine. It could be just me. I'm good at growing tomatoes, but I'll have to try them again this year, just to keep the seeds fresh too. It's really important, right? Because I've never seen them for sale. So.
Right. So I know the seed swap that we have locally here in Northwest Ohio, they encourage people to bring maybe 4 or 5 packages. You know, maybe I usually use they're little Ziploc bag kind of things, right? Like little pill bags, I think they're sold in the pharmacy. And anyways, so you bring 4 or 5, and then you swap. You actually swap with one another, and of course you end up leaving with way more because everyone's so generous. But so both of you, what would you recommend if somebody's new going to a seed swap? What seed would you bring with you?
I would recommend that they bring something, that, yeah, maybe if they're new to it, I mean, they may not even have any seeds, right?
Right.
But even something more, just some of the basic seeds, some of your peas and early crops that they could start. Lettuce is a good one to start with because everybody likes lettuce and different kinds of peas and beans. They seem to be really popular as seed swaps. And poppies is another one if you're looking at flower seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loves poppies, so yeah. Lots of choice there. There's so much choice in seeds. That's the problem. They're kind of like clothes. You can never have too many.
Right.
Yeah.
Good thing they're small and cheap, right?
Exactly. You have way less room.
How about you, Josh?
I would say a lot of the things that Kristin had touched on, if you're a new gardener and you want to start sowing from seed, first of all, you can do it without a doubt. If I can sit here and talk about it, I assure you, you can do it. So don't be afraid of seeds. There's nothing to be afraid of. But starting with some of those types of crops that are direct sown, that you would sow directly into your garden, that you wouldn't need to start indoors first. So peas, beans, squash, cucumbers, all of those types of things do really well. Of course, I'm focusing on vegetables again. Sunflower. There we go. I threw a flower in there. Sunflowers are really good for direct sowing. And that's usually a good way to get started. And then after you get the bug, like I have, then start working on those things like tomatoes and peppers and eggplants and all of those other types of things that you would want to start indoors first. It's certainly still not hard to do, but it takes a little bit more know-how, a very little bit more. So
very cool. Hey, Josh, nothing wrong with growing vegetables. You got to eat.
You have to eat, and they taste so good. Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
Any homegrown vegetable is bound to taste a lot better than one that you buy at a store.
Totally. Oh, what do you guys miss most right now? Kind of off subject, but from your vegetable garden.
Tomatoes.
Tomatoes. I think the same thing. Yep.
Yep. The fresh tomatoes, basil, cucumbers.
Basil.
Oh, I have basil in the freezer.
Oh man. Are we gonna make it? We got 3 more months.
Quite a while for basil and tomatoes, huh? Just a quick reminder to anyone that's watching this, you can go ahead and join the conversation if you click on the top little grid up there, and you can leave us a question or comment, or you can tweet with #GardenChatter, and I know Bren will pick that up because she's tuned in to Twitter.
I know I missed this. Giovanna was asking, can somebody repeat the name of the book? Did we say a book?
Kristin mentioned a book, so can you repeat that?
Yes, that is Plant Breeding for the Home Gardener.
Okay, awesome.
I know the author's name is Joseph, and I just can't pronounce his last name, so
it's
just listening out there.
TCH something. No. Yeah.
So Plant Breeder for the Home Gardener.
Okay.
Excellent book.
And then we got a couple people lurking, like Growing North is lurking tonight. That's okay. I do that a lot too.
Lurking's fine.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, Josh, if someone wanted to start saving seeds, like maybe me, for example, I haven't really been saving any seeds. What are some veggies that would be good to start with, or maybe some that I should, not jump into right away? Any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. It's interesting because it's kind of the same things that I was talking about for those that wanted to start seed for the first time too. Beans are a great crop to save for the first time. They're large seeds, you essentially just let the plant grow, you let the beans form, but rather than harvest them and eat them, if you can stay away from doing that for a while, you wait until the pod actually turns brown and dries. You crack it open. Well, you don't even have to crack it. You just pull it open, and you have your seeds for the next year. There are no hybrid bean seeds out there. They're all open pollinated, so you don't have to worry. And they also you don't have to worry about them cross pollinating with another bean that you have necessarily growing down the row or anything like that. So if you grew a particular type of bean that you like a lot and wanted to harvest those seeds and then replant them the next year, you would get that same bean most likely. Of course, there's little issues here and there. Another really easy one is lettuce. Lettuce, once it starts warming up, if you've ever grown lettuce before, you know that it tends to bolt really quick, which means that it starts sending out its flower shoots and the leaves get kind of bitter. So rather than just pulling it out and composting it, if you let that flower, eventually that flower will fall off and it'll get this little puff ball at the top. And if you pull that puff ball up, you'll find a dozen or so seeds off of each little puffball. You could get enough lettuce to feed an army off of a couple of plants of lettuce. And that's another situation where all lettuces are open pollinated too, and so you don't really have to worry about any sort of issues with them not coming true the following year for the most part.
Very cool.
Yeah. Well, does anyone have any last comments or questions, or we can kind of start to wrap it up?
I'd just like to encourage people to keep their, just try and save seeds, from their flowers and their vegetables. It's so easy. Walk around in the fall with an envelope and gather them and label them and store them in a nice cold, dry place and plant them again in the next season. It's so much, it's so nice. And, I mean, saving seeds saves money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
From my perspective, I mean, I work for a seed company. I make my I get to eat. However, I still agree with you 100%. Anyone that kind of, well, I don't want to say anyone, but most people that work in this industry do it because they're passionate about what they're doing. And my passion is to get people out there gardening and get people, more in particular, to growing food. And I know that in one of those packets of seeds that you buy, like you were saying, there could be 700 lettuce seeds in there. That's way too much lettuce for a standard home garden. Why not share them with someone else? Why not have the opportunity to grow things that you've never tried before? I used to hate Brussels sprouts until I grew them myself. They're delicious. So going out there and experimenting, realizing that you're going to make mistakes because we all do, but yeah, it's all the reason why you should have seed swaps and why you should share your seed and share your knowledge with other gardeners, because then I'll still continue to get to do what I like to do and make my living off of it, because it'll hopefully enthuse you to go out and buy seed later as well.
Right. So Josh, just cover your ears for a minute. I know a big mistake if you're new to growing seeds I made, and every time I see a seed display, I'm getting like tons of them, and then you starting them and it's like too much and it can be kind of overwhelming. So I just kind of want to warn people, like, pace yourself. Right?
Yep.
Or go to a seed swap.
Look at the back of the packet and see how big that plant is going to get and realize you might not have room for 500 of them.
Yeah, been there.
And just teaching people that tiny seed grows one big head of cabbage. Yeah, people don't realize that. One seed is one plant, and it can be pretty big.
Right.
Yeah. So
there was
do it. Once they actually try it and do see that, then they're going to remember. And they're also going to feel really rewarded that they tended to that seed and the seedling and the plant and got to harvest that wonderful head of cabbage.
True. Very fun. How exciting.
Yeah. It is. And don't be afraid to start from seed.
Right.
That's the ending thought that I'd like to pass along to everyone.
So if I've been trying to search out, of course, luckily in my area I'm close to the Toledo Botanical Garden, and the university up here even has different seed swaps and things like that. But I am finding on Facebook a lot of interesting things. There's a whole underground world we'll talk about some other time. but no, if you're trying to find a seed swap in your area, do you have any suggestions? Like how would you find where they are? No?
Okay, I can give you a website actually.
Oh.
If you go to seeds.ca, it will list all the Seedy Saturdays happening across Canada for all of this year. So there's all sorts of seed events, and they're put on by Seeds of Diversity. So they're a great website. So it's easy to remember, seeds.ca. And I think in the United States I think there's a listing for the United States as well, but I'm not sure what that would be.
I wonder when you're crossing over the border if they would ask you if you have seeds, because I'd like to go to the one. I bet there's one in Toronto, right?
They do.
Do they? Yeah.
Be careful. I mean, it's not like you'll get incarcerated or anything, but it's oftentimes asked. And I've been to a few conferences before where they've interrogated me over the Canadian border and stuff like that. So.
I know the plants. The plants were funny a few years ago crossing over. You had to make sure that all the soil was off of the plant. It was kind of strange.
Oh, no, I brought plants back across the border.
To Canada.
To Canada.
You guys are a little nicer, I guess, right?
Yeah, as long as you got the paperwork. Yeah,
I'm so gonna get stopped now. There's gonna be like a huge poster picture waiting for dinner.
Our first seed swap, and now at the Canadian border.
Anyways. Well, what do you think, Adam? You want to go to a seed swap?
I do, actually. I'm going to have to look around. I imagine there's probably one nearby me, so I just need to go and check it out. And I'll try to include that book and the website and see if we can find any other directories for seed swaps and include them in a blog post about this garden chatter. Well, thank you so much, Josh and Kristin. It's been a pleasure to have you on and chat with you about seeds. So,
it's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.
Yes, and I love being here because I'm just such a seedaholic. So if I can spread the passion, that's what I'm here for. Thanks again.
Do you mind, can you share really quick if people want to follow you, maybe your Twitter handle or your website?
You can follow me at Delta Gardener on Twitter, and my website is thatbloomingarden.wordpress.com.
Awesome.
Yeah, follow me over on Twitter though. We like to tweet all about gardening, so you'll see me there.
And Josh, where can we find you?
My Twitter handle is JOKIR74, and I don't have a website right now, and my company one, it's just because we're a seed breeding company, we don't sell directly to the public. It wouldn't really be, but ballhort.com if you want to check out what my company's all about.
Awesome. Yeah. And your Twitter handle is much easier than your last name.
Yeah, my last name is Kirschenbaum, so you get the Joe Kerr. It's a play on words, Joe Kerr 74. My last name is Kirschenbaum. So
awesome.
Just call me Josh, that's fine.
I like that. Thanks, Adam. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you. Take care.
Thanks.